Hey everyone, thanks for watching this next segment of WuhooPoints Interviews. It's going to run a little differently. Usually I'm the one asking questions, but I got Kobe over here who has a lot of good questions for me that we'll just kind of tackle together. So Kobe, just want to introduce yourself, anything you want to share?
Hey, my name's Kobe. I'm 27 years old. I live in Southwest Florida. I'm currently working as like a banker with PNC Bank. So with this whole the credit card stuff, the way people can properly utilize it to benefit their life, I found the entire conversation interesting, and I think it's very important to discuss these days. And I really like his videos, his posts. I've been sending them around to my friends and stuff to kind of teach them some stuff that they weren't really taught. So I just wanted to kind of discuss things with him more. I actually just ended up messaging him on Instagram with a couple questions, and he pitched the podcast idea. And I figured engaging the actual conversation would be pretty beneficial.
Yeah, let's do it. And before you ask your first question, just to note, I'm not a
Mhm.
financial advisor. I can't give actual financial advice, but I can share my experiences with credit cards, with my finance and things like that. And that's what I hope to bring. But like with any credit card influencer on Instagram, TikTok, do your
Yes.
research, confirm
Yeah.
before you just listen to everything I have to say. But that's the first disclaimer, and then we'll start from there. So hit me. What are you curious about? What do you think other people are kind of struggling to figure out with credit cards or just finances in general?
I think a question a lot of people ask, and even friends, people my age and younger, ask, they always want to know, well, what kind should I get? What's the best card? They want to know, well, what card should I get then? You tell them credit cards have benefits. Well, what card should I get? And then that's a whole other conversation because there's hundreds of credit cards out there. You
Uh,
know.
yeah, as we know, with the credit card tier list, we're already on day 112. So yes,
Hmm.
hundreds of credit cards to choose from. I get that. I see that on Instagram threads a lot. But I'll throw the question back at you real quick. Like, what do
Hmm.
you think what credit cards have people been hearing about that they think is a good starter card?
I think the one that gets most of the conversation going for a lot of people, of course, is the idea of a travel credit card. They like the idea of traveling. A lot of people have never traveled before. So they hear a travel card and they think it's something they can use to immediately get, free hotels, free plane tickets and stuff. But sometimes it's a bit more than that. You have to hit certain criteria to get your points. The points can only be redeemed in certain areas and stuff. So even though it is a travel card, there's still certain research that needs to be gone into. And then, some people use their credit cards for things like their car payment and stuff if they're allowed to, and they like to get cash back on that. Well, should I get cash back? Should I get the points? Should I get cash back that goes straight into my account, or should I do the point cash back like the Bank of America travel card, for example?
Yep. Yep. So yeah, good question. I'll answer on my end. You made a good point where a lot of people rush to those premium travel credit cards because they have all the advertisements. Capital One, Chase, Amex, they're all advertising these cool, credit cards, these metal credit cards that will get you free trips. But for a lot of people starting out, they can't get that card immediately. Not even that they've done anything bad, they just don't have that credit history.
Mm-hmm.
So, generally, you want to start with a good foundational credit card that looks like Discover It Cash Back, maybe a student version if you're a college student. The Capital One, Chase, they all have different starter cards. Maybe your credit score so low, you might need a secured card to start out with. That means one where you actually put a deposit down. So if
Mm-hmm.
it's a payment, then they can take money from you there, but hopefully you don't. But like
Those are the ones where your deposit just acts as your balance, essentially, correct?
exactly, yeah. So that how starts building credit. So we all start from different places. Some people are fortunate enough where their parents have added them as an authorized user. So then, yeah, they can get a little bit of a higher card. But generally, a starter card, most likely going to be cash back, is a good place to start. But then, yeah, let's say you had years of credit card experience, you've been paying your credit cards off well, you're kind of plus 700 ish in the credit score range. Now you want the premium travel credit card, then I always get this question, which one should I get? And honestly, it really depends. They're all very similar in some aspects and very different. So, for example, I used to live in Philly, and the Philadelphia airport only has an American Express Centurion Lounge and then a couple airline lounges. So, having the Chase Sapphire Reserve or Capital One Venture X, you're not going to get any lounge access there. But if you have the Amex Platinum, that could work. Right now, I live outside of DC. I fly out of Dulles a lot, which is really nice. It has a lot of different lounges, but no Centurion lounges. They just came out with a Chase Sapphire Lounge, and they have a really nice Capital One lounge. So I'm gonna. I've been more on the Chase Sapphire Reserve Capital One Venture X side. But putting it all together, that's just the lounge aspect. There's totally other factors like the annual fee for the MX Platinum is $695. Is that going to fit into your lifestyle, or are you just going to spend more money to recoup all those costs?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of nuances that go into it, but basically you want to look at the benefits and see, is this something that I can afford? Is it something that's not going to change my lifestyle too much and actually support me getting free trips? And then there's a lot of other nuances that I love kind of talking through people specifically. For example, if you really like hotels, Chase
Mm-hmm.
Points are the way to go with Hyatt redemptions. If you really like international business class flights, maybe lean more towards MX. So it all kind of depends. So it's a hard question to answer. Is the long-winded saying of that.
I like it because that shows exactly why the due diligence is required, and I think that's something that sometimes is lacking. I feel like a lot of people. This is how I was raised, and how the people around me have seemed to be raised. There's no education on that, so to speak, at all. It's kind of just you see an ad on the internet, you get something in the mail,
Yeah.
someone really enticing walks up to you on your first day of the college campus, and it's just like,
Yes.
all right, let's do this.
Yeah. And sometimes peer pressure falls into that too. Like, oh, I have a flashy gold credit card. You should get it. And then your friend, you can trust your friend. Oh, they have it. I'll sign up. And then again, sometimes that's a trap. Sometimes it doesn't make sense. Hopefully it
Mm-hmm.
does, but yeah, it's hard.
So, what do you feel like are like good habits then for people to have, like when they have these credit cards, as opposed to the bad habits that are commonly seen?
Yeah, good question. The first number one thing is pay on time. I see a lot of people just forgetting due dates, paying manually, not paying enough. The,
Mm-hmm.
the simplest, and there's all these tricks out there that don't really work. There's like the pay twice a month trick, leave a little bit of a balance trick. You don't need to do any of that. The simplest thing is pay your statement balance every month. That's all you need to do, and that can raise your credit score. They'll keep a healthy balance, and you won't pay interest. 50% of Americans carry a balance now. We're $1 trillion in credit card debt. So I don't want any of my followers, any of my clients to kind of be in that position where,
Mm-hmm.
you know, they're spending more money than they need to. The banks are nice, they give us points, but we want to beat the banks. We don't want them to make money off of us. So that's my number one rule. And to help with that is putting auto pay. Almost every single credit card, every bank has an auto pay feature. That's number one, because I don't care how good you are with budgeting or how meticulous you are with scheduling and making sure you make your payments. There will unfortunately be those times where you're just too busy, or God forbid, one of my friends was in an accident, went to the hospital. They weren't in a coma or anything, but they're not thinking about the credit card bill, but they
Yeah.
missed the payment, right? Like the credit card company doesn't care. They might, if you call them, they might waive the late fee and interest, but you don't want to be in that position. Just put it on auto pay. Life happens. You
Mm-hmm.
can still manually pay every month, but at least have it as backup. It's like the rule.
Just so you don't miss it, accrue that interest in something. What,
Exactly.
because like you said, life happens, and unfortunately, accidents happen. Stuff happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so my next question, I guess, would then be: there are often people who didn't yet have this education, who found themselves in a kind of a bad situation, and now they're following you, they're following your page, and starting to realize it's not this bleak world that they thought it was, but currently they're in debt or something, or they have low credit and debt. So, what could we say to those followers who want to be on that good side of using credit cards, want to be using it properly, but right now they need some gains to be made? Like, what would be the best advice to them?
Yeah, I think again it depends, but I'll try to paint the larger landscape. It depends because if it's a lot of credit card debt or it's a lot of card debt and some credit card debt, right? There's different strategies to that. I know you were asking me beforehand, the difference of kind of avalanche or
Mm-hmm.
snowball debt payments. So Dave Ramsey kind of follows a snowball effect where it's pay your smallest loan first, and then your larger one, and then the larger one, and until you pay everything off. The
Mm-hmm.
avalanche effect is more focused on the high interest debt, so the one that's costing you the most money. Pay that
Mm-hmm.
down first. So Dave's reasoning is more of a mental game, right? Once you pay off one debt, you're like, this is doable. This is success. I can aim for the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Versus the avalanche effect is more of like if you're a logical math person, this
Mm-hmm.
makes no sense because you're going to lose the least amount of money this way. So I subscribe to the avalanche effect just because I'm more of a math technical guy, but I do see the benefits of that mental achievement of being able to pay down debt.
Yeah, if someone has like the whole low morale, they've just really spent years at max credit cards and they have this neat perspective on it. Sometimes getting one paid off can be that really good boost, that moral reassurance for them to go ahead and tackle that second one and then that third one.
Exactly.
At the
Yeah.
same time, someone who, like you said, is a bit more logical, a bit more mathematical with it, they see it written out like
Yep.
you paid it this way, this way. This is the percentage you'd pay in interest. This is your total payment. This one serves you better. They may go for that one just because that logic works best for them as well.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it depends on the person. What,
Mhm.
again, Avalanche financially makes sense, but it doesn't matter as long as you're paying down debt. Like at the end of the day, that's important, right?
Mhm.
And to help with that, I think is budgeting. I've seen also a lot of posts on Reddit, Instagram as well. They start with a $36,000 loan. 10 years later, they still have to pay 30,000, right? Because all their payments have been going to interest because they're only
Mhm.
making a minimum payment. So the key thing too there is depending on the size of your loan, the length, right? Budget so you're putting a lot of money down at that debt. It doesn't matter how much money you're investing into your 401k or into stocks. Generally the average growth is 10%, but interest, especially credit card interest, is like 20 to 30%. So if you're not paying,
Mhm.
you're losing so much money.
I think I've been seeing them sitting around like 24, 27, 28% sometimes. I think I saw one as like 32.9% at one point somewhere.
Yeah, like as a joke, I got the Dick's credit card because that's one of my followers
I
suggested.
saw that one. I saw that one. I was like, I didn't even know they had one. And there was a process for you to get it, wasn't it?
No, thankfully no processing fee. It
Okay.
just like it took a little couple of steps, but the interest
Mhm.
rate on the sheet was 32%, and I'm like, no way I'm doing that. So I don't think it's dangerous. Like people, like I've talked to a lot of my clients, they'll be spending, not paying attention, and then oops, I missed the payment. Oops, I'm just gonna do a minimum payment for this month. It's fine, but then it goes bigger and bigger. So paying
Mhm.
that down as soon as possible is really key.
Okay, okay, I like that. So I got a question then as well. Since you could probably answer this a bit better than other people as well, since you have, many accounts, total accounts. I would
Mhm.
assume with through your video series and getting these credit cards, oftentimes people hear the idea of a total account comes into the underwriting or credit card utilization is involved in their underwriting when they're applying for loans and stuff.
Yeah.
So what would be the best advice for people who are trying to figure, well, how many credit cards should I have? What's too many? What's too little? Obviously, I always tell my friends, the 30% rule that I've always heard, try to keep your utilization under the 30%.
Yep. Yep.
But as for the total account question, I don't really know a good answer for that one at all.
Yeah. The technical answer is the more credit cards, the better.
Hmm.
I caveat that with that doesn't mean you have to get credit cards. I
Hmm.
have friends that don't again swear by the Dave Ramsey rule or just have one credit card or some have none, and they
Hmm.
have good credit scores because they keep everything else in check. For some
Hmm.
of them, it's a behavior thing. If I have a credit card, I'm just going to spend more money, so I want to cut that out of my life. So I want to first say you can have no credit cards and still have a good credit score, still live life. Great.
Okay.
Obviously, not me. I have a lot of credit cards. And the reason why I say the more credit cards, the better, with the asterisks that you're responsibly paying them off and not accruing interest, is because the more credit cards you have, the higher credit limit you have across all your
Hmm.
accounts. And assuming you're not, you get more credit cards, your limits up, up, up. Assuming you're not spending more money, you're keeping your spending the same, right?
Hmm.
That utilization automatically goes down because that percentage is just growing, growing, growing. Well,
I see.
going down, down, down because your limit's going higher. But if that's not you, if you're someone that sees a really high credit limit and is like, oh, I can buy like a $2,000 designer bag now, is going to go up. So that's the key thing for beginners. Focusing on our audience, I would say it's good to have at least two credit cards.
Hmm.
One kind of catch-all card like Chase Freedom Unlimited or City Double Cash. Something earns 1.5%, 2% back, just so you can get a little bit back on your spend.
Hmm.
And another card from a different bank. The reason being, let's say, I have two Chase credit cards and I piss off Chase or I, lock myself an account or I get, hacked or something like that. Both those credit cards are done for, right? But if you have one with Chase, one with Citi, or, doesn't
Ah.
Wells Fargo, Chase, at the very least, you lose a card or again, with all these like social security numbers being leaked, maybe want to go.
Yes, yes. Mine was leaking that too.
Yeah, yeah. So at least two helps with the safety feature, but also again with the credit limit and things like that, you can kind of expand. So I would say starting out, obviously you're going to get one, maybe think about getting a second one, and then you could think about, okay, do I want to go down my route of getting a lot of credit cards, getting a lot of points? But safety wise, at least two, I think, is my recommendation.
Okay, so it seems like there's two different types of. I'm just two different like, main types of credit cards. There's always like the cashback ones, and then there's the point ones. Is there one that seems like it's better than the other? Because I know some from some of your videos, I've seen ones will present themselves as a point one, but in reality, it's actually just a cashback card. Still, they just word it differently.
Yeah, no, good question. So what I mean by cashback credit cards is you can only redeem it for statement credit or like a credit at a store, things like that. So most of the time it's a 1-to-1 ratio. 1 point equals 1 cent. There's some other cashback credit cards that give us, a couple, bonus points here and there, but for the most part, that's what you're going to get. And I actually recommend that for starting out, especially a lot of my clients are also college students.
Mm-hmm.
In college, yeah, maybe you have a big spring break trip. For the most part, though, you're probably broke. At least I was broke when I was in college, and I'm just trying to get enough money for my next meal, maybe a spring break trip here and there. But I'm focused on cash back. Keeping more money in my wallet.
Mm-hmm.
I know some friends now, late 20s, 30s. They just don't travel. They don't go anywhere. Really, not because they can't afford it, but not everyone likes traveling. So I don't recommend them any travel credit cards because why do I need miles if you're not even going to take flights or stay at hotels? So part of it is like depends on your personality and situation.
I see. So it's definitely a lifestyle dependent thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But honestly, if you're traveling even just once a year, it might make sense to get a miles or points credit card. So what I mean by that is you get points, so they look similar to the cashback cards, but you can transfer them to different airlines or hotels for more value. So you know how each airline has their own mileage program, like United has their miles, Delta has Sky Miles, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Those are where credit card points can transfer to, usually at a 1-to-1 rate. So one Chase point equals one Hyatt point, something like that. And that's where you can get way more value in terms of your points. So 1 point might not be 1 cent. 1 point might actually equal 3 cents, 4 cents, 5 cents, or beyond, depending on how you redeem it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I weigh more heavily on the point side because I can get more value out of it because I love traveling.
Okay. Is there what do you feel like there's like a reigning champion when it comes to the point credit cards out there right now?
Right now, I would say the Capital One Venture X is,
Okay.
made breakthroughs. I will say the points game always changes, man. Someone comes out with a new card with new benefits. They have to sucker everyone in, so they offer a lot of things. Uh, Sometimes, those benefits are go way over the bank's head, and then they have to
Mm-hmm.
cut things down. Case in point, right now is the Built credit card. It was really good when it came out. Now they're nerfing it, and things like that. So it'll always change. Like next year, it might be a new card we've never heard of. It might be a Wells Fargo card. It might go back to the Amex Platinums and Chase Sapphire Reserves. But right now, personally, I really like the Capital One Venture X.
So do you feel like there always kind of been like a competition to try to be the number one? So that's why it's changing every year.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of competition, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
For us as consumers. So yeah.
Okay. I have a lot of friends right now that like, especially like I even told a few friends I was going to be doing this discussion with you,
Yeah.
and some of them, as we got into the conversation about credit, brought up how they were raised regarding credit. I
Mhm.
know a lot of them, their parents, really struggled in, 08 and stuff as well. At this time, almost every single one of my friends has a story about, oh, I was a kid, my mom got foreclosed on, da 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 da. It's like their childhood story is like it's being foreclosed on,
Yeah.
and so they have this huge, credit's the devil. Credit will ruin you every single time. Don't borrow money. Even if you literally have the liquid funds available to cover it, the
Yeah.
idea of just borrowing it is frowned upon. So what could I say to them to try to maybe make them a bit more warm, a bit more comfortable towards the idea? Because I know I can't force everybody. I'm not trying to force people. The goal is just I want to educate them on it.
Yep. Good question. And again, there's a logical side, and then there's the emotions, the relationship side. As a Christian myself, I'm always about honoring my father and mother. So
Mm-hmm.
there's that aspect, right? Like you don't want to tell your friend to screw their parents and
Yeah.
we
Hmm.
relationships. So I think there's an aspect of respecting our elders, our parents who did go through some trauma. Like my dad lost his job a bunch of times, so had some financial things there. So there's that piece, right? But there are things I think you can do to start small, like anything. Again, I'm just a credit card influencer, a guy on the internet. Yeah, I have some advice I like to share, but don't
Hmm.
take my word as the Bible. Like, do your own research, things like that. So, what people can start out with would be just having good financial hygiene. So, even without credit cards, right? A lot of people, like the Dave Ramsey crowd, they don't have any credit cards, but they keep a strict budget. So, showing your financial literacy and how you budget, making sure you don't overspend, is just good to have whoever you are, whether you have credit cards or not. Uh,
Hmm.
the next step is, everyone will eventually have, after you graduate college, will have rent, will have bills to pay. If you can show you pay those on time, that's another thing that shows good financial habits, good hygiene, right? That shows, yeah, I can pay down debt. Because if you think about it, I use electricity for a month, then I have to pay the electricity company for that. So even though it's not credit, right, you're still getting something before you pay for it.
Hmm.
Those little things start, to show, okay, I can control my money. I, don't need to take out loans or things like that because I'm, have a good enough savings. Then, maybe getting that secured credit card, showing again the math. Hey, I put $1,000 down. So, if I can show I'm responsible with my credit card, that's great. If I somehow fail, they take my money that I've already deposited with them. It's not me getting into a cycle of debt, things like that. So it's the little things, it's the relational things, showing you show people the math, but you also have to be relationally positive, right? Don't uh, go out and just apply to a bunch of credit cards. The last thing I'll say real quick for this whole thing is a marathon. This isn't a sprint. I like to tell people, those that are trying to raise their credit score, trying to get all these really cool credit cards and perks,
Hmm.
slow down. This is a thing you get over years. Like some people can apply to multiple credit cards in a week, but they're doing it thoughtfully, right? Other people, they go to a bunch of different stores, open a bunch of credit cards, go, foreclose on them, go bankrupt because they're trying to game the system, even though that's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Go at your own pace. It's a marathon. It goes over time. If someone's telling you, I can fix your credit score like this, they're probably scamming you.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I do sometimes see stuff like that out there all the time. I even see that. I think I saw some of that actually on the corner of the road one day saying free credit repair. Not, well, not free. It's like instant credit repair. Call this number. And I was like, what do you mean by instant credit repair? Because I don't know if that's a true thing like that.
No, I mean, like credit cards only report to credit bureaus once a month. I mean, there's some things you can do that will instantly raise your score.
Hmm.
Again, research this, but things like getting collections off, reporting, if your car was stolen, things like that, reporting that. Like, there's some things that you can do for some people in their situations that
Hmm.
might, yeah, raise their score 50 points. But, again, do your own research. Generally, it's going to be a marathon. It's not something that happens overnight.
Okay. How do you, how did, I got a question for you. How
Mm-hmm.
did you like gain this knowledge? Was it all self-taught? Was it something that you were able to like learn from reading and studying
Yeah.
throughout college and after college and stuff?
Good question. So I was fortunate enough. My dad helped me get my first credit card when I turned 18.
Hmm.
And back in the day, he was when checks were a thing, he made me keep track of a checkbook.
Hmm.
So honestly, having a dad really helped get my financial literacy at a good foundation. But
Hmm.
in school, they don't really teach you any of this stuff. And I did have to figure out a lot on my own, especially on the credit card side.
Hmm.
So freshman year of college, I had my first credit card. I'm like, oh, cool. It's the Capital One Quicksilver. I can get 1.5% back on everything I purchase. And then when I first redeemed that $100, because I saved up my points, right, for that redemption, I was like, wow, I got a free $100. How can I get more, right? I was doing surveys in school. I was doing odd jobs to make cash.
Hmm.
So I started looking more into credit cards, researching. Since I had Capital One, I was looking at the other Capital One cards. So I got the Capital One Saver. Then I graduated college. Now I'm making money, but I also have more expenses. So it was a lot of like watching credit card YouTubers, reading the points guide because that's when they really started out, and then talking with all of my friends at business school, my friends who were accountants, things like that. It's a lot of just research, information gathering. I think what's cool about nowadays is that because I haven't been in college for like 7, 8 years now. Uh, Nowadays, there's so much more information outside
Mm-hmm.
online that you can just look up. So that's dangerous. It's a double-edged sword because sometimes it's bad information. But um, I think having more sources, whether it's reading, watching, friends, parents, older people, other people in your jobs, like collectively, you kind of sense out, okay, what's the right trend, what's not.
Okay. And I got probably one more main question. It's off something I've been observing. My partner, my girlfriend, she's honestly very excellent with credit cards, and it's been great to see because it's all for her. It's all self-taught. Her parents were very much against credit, and
Mm-hmm.
when she applied for her first credit card, her parents sat her down and told her, like, sat her down and seriously told her how it was like maybe not the best choice. Nor do they understand what she's doing. And now she has like she does this thing where she like rotates them out based off two things. One, based off which one's offering the best rewards, and two, when how like the monthly payment date.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
she'll and we'll like go out to eat, or we'll be doing something now. Like the other day we were at Cheesecake Factory, and the bill came and everything. She's like, "Oh wait," and she went digging, digging, digging. And she's like, "This one has $10 back on Cheesecake Factory right today." So she's doing this thing where she pretty much capitalizes off the benefits of each one,
Perfect. Yeah.
off of where she's at. And do you feel like that's like the game that's supposed to be played with it in a sense? Because I feel like based on what I'm seeing, I mean, there's almost like a game that has to be played when it comes to properly using your credit cards to
Yeah.
your advantage.
Yeah. No, it really is a game that I want everyone to win, not the banks to
Mm-hmm.
win. There's people that, want to just get an Amex card because it's an Amex. They want to see the flashy, metal card, the platinum, gold, whatever. And fine, you want to pay that much money for a status symbol, go do that. But for people like us, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we want to game the system. We want to win. We want to get our value from everything we're purchasing, not just credit cards, right? Any groceries or a vacation, we want to make sure we're getting value from it, and that's how we do it. So I think the American Express Gold is probably what your girlfriend had at that time. Gets $10
I think
off
it
at
was.
Factory every month, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you can lose it and not use that credit, but then you're paying such a high annual fee for what, right? So yes, it's a game. And it's hard for some people. That's why some of my friends, they don't have any credit cards because they just know they can't play the game well and they'll always lose. That's fine. But if you are entering the game, know that it's a game and you have to stay on top of how to win. Fortunately, there's a ton of tools out there to help out with, or just make your own Excel sheet, or maybe stick with those cards that don't have a ton of credits. But
Mm-hmm.
especially with cards with annual fees, always make sure you're getting the value you need. And then I'll say this at the also too. Sometimes people get too stressed out about, oh wait, I should have used this card because it was 4%. Instead, I used this card. It was only 2%. Oh no,
Mm-hmm.
calm down. 2% of a dollar is 2 cents. 2 cents of, or yeah, no, yeah, and 2 cents or 2% of $100 is just $2. It's fine. Like my wife, she's sometimes freaked out when she's like, "Oh, sorry, Matthew, I used the wrong credit card." I'm like, it's okay. You were buying groceries. The difference is a couple dollars. So for those people out there that think they have to like optimize every single part of the game, yeah, it's helpful, but like you don't have to put so much stress on yourself in that way.
Okay. I appreciate it. I appreciate all this. It's helped me learn so much, and I'm really about to go back to my friends and family and kind of tell them everything I just learned too. I think this is very important stuff for people to learn. I think there's, I mean, like you said, you've done over 100 days of different credit cards, so there's so much out there. But without the proper knowledge, it's easy for people to become overwhelmed.
Yeah,
And
not
I
all of them are
think
good. Yeah,
I actually when I told a few people I was doing this, there are other people that like have seen your stuff as well that were like, oh, I know exactly who he is. Oh, I've seen came up on my explore page and stuff like that. So I think there's a lot of people who are interested in the idea in this whole world, but I think a lot of them are very intimidated by it. Like you said, credit card debt's at an all-time high. It dropped for a bit during 2020, but as soon as people would start spending again, it surpassed its all-time highs that it originally had.
yeah,
Just went right back up again. So without the proper education, it becomes very easy to become overwhelmed. But the
yeah.
education is out there, the resources are out there. It's just all about like we've said, doing your due diligence and researching or committing to anything.
Yeah. No, it was great talking through these questions. And yeah, the last thing we'll say is what I said. The first thing is pay on time, don't pay to interest, be responsible with your finances and your credit cards.
So yes, Matthew, it was nice talking to you.
Yeah, likewise. So Thank you for sending those questions. And then, yeah, if anyone else has questions or wanted to do something like this, I'm always happy to. So thank you very much.